This is the city that I grew up in. In some ways, it's changed. People who can afford here generally tend to be in very high-paying jobs in tech and so forth. I run my own business. I design and build custom furniture for people's homes. And then my wife and I run this Airbnb in the front of our home. I guess call it an apartment, but it's...
So it's like a garage apartment.
Exactly.
So when you came, it was...
Yeah, it was in a very different state. And so this was an opportunity for me to use my skills to create a space that felt meaningful to me. And in a sense, it's how I would live if I didn't have children. It's very minimalistic. Yeah, these windows, even the ceiling is original. But all of this, there was a closet here that we removed and turned it into bed niche and opened up the space. It was a little more enclosed. Even this as well. We removed a lot, but worked with the existing architecture. And then I slowly, over the course of 2 years, built all the furniture. So it took me a while. I wasn't in a hurry. I wanted to do it right and make something special, make something that was more of an expression of the work that I do and how I would live if I lived by myself.
What does that mean, how you would live? Like,
well, just, it's not everything is about convenience. It's more about creating a space that gives you space, right? It doesn't try to tell you how to live. A place where you can kind of be and be at peace. And a lot of people who come and stay here say that when they leave, that it feels very zen, it feels very calming and relaxing. Some people don't get it and they're like, we need more amenities, or these stools are... I mean, this is actually a Charlotte Perriand stool from the 50s that a client asked me to recreate. So this is an old design that was for a chalet in the Alps. It's very simple. Well, it's actually not that simple because the joinery is pretty involved, but...
It looks simple. That's the trick, right?
Yeah, it was intended to be a very casual chalet stool. But when you sit on it, you kind of have to be aware of the fact that you're on a tripod. You can't just kind of like lean back or anything like that.
Because you don't need a tiny stool right here. You have space, but the idea was not to fill all the space.
Yeah, exactly. My whole thought process was the bare minimum. Just add what was absolutely necessary to make this space feel right. Well, these two pieces right here, these are two armoires, are kind of relate to each other. I call them Laurel and Hardy. There's the tall and skinny one, and then there's the short and fat one. So these are sort of inspired by shaker furniture, which I love. The simplicity, and there's no embellishment. It's all about the proportions and how all the shapes relate to each other and to the space.
And the bed?
It's just a simple frame.
Yeah. So you can just, we all just have to buy bed. So you can just say, oh, okay, I know what size I want. I'm just going to go make that. And you went to your workshop and came back. So you started little by little.
I think I probably, did the kitchenette first, maybe the bathroom. I kind of did, the areas that involve plumbing.
I love it. It's all wood.
Yeah, this is cedar from an old, I was told it was from a jacuzzi in Marin. So I'm sure there's some stories with this wood, but it gives it this really cool darkened patina that you can only get from old wood.
And then you just kept it simple again. So fabric, just because you wanted it to be easy, or you?
Well, I think it's nice. There's so much wood in this space. I think it's really nice to have a contrast of fabric. Yeah. And my mother's a fashion designer, so anytime I need anything relating to fabric, she helps me out. Yeah, so it's
just hiding all the
stuff. It's just all the stuff you don't want to see. Exactly.
That's great. There's so much wood in here. It's like kept up pretty well for a bathroom, actually.
Yeah, and we recently redid the shower stall.
So you created the kitchen.
Yeah. Again, simplicity, minimalism, the bare minimum to be able to create a meal. If you were 2 people, you can make a nice breakfast. And, I have like 2 of everything. There's everything you need, pots and pans. You could And then this is a table I built. I was going through a tripod phase. In a sense, it kind of ties into the simplicity thing because a tripod is the minimum number of legs that you need to support anything. But they're not the most stable. It works for a table like this because they're spread enough apart, right? But as far as like taking dynamic weight, like, you know, for sitting down, it's, you know, if I had 4 legs right here, I'm braced on all sides more.
Oh, I see. Yeah. It's so minimal though. It's like you're sitting on a pogo stick. you know, it really does feel that. It's not huge. And even the size of the seat. It feels dwarfed by that window. Maybe that was intentional.
Yeah, there's something about allowing for space in between that anything can happen inwardly and outwardly. Like if you were to sit and meditate, you wouldn't want to be in a closet, ideally, surrounded by lots of things. You want to be somewhere where you feel spaciousness outside and spaciousness inside.
Is it kind of a luxury then to have this much space, like this much empty space? Does that become a luxury? People don't necessarily find that in their daily lives. You don't see it much. I mean, this is a very small space.
Yeah.
There's a lot of empty space.
Yeah, so it doesn't feel small, even though it's probably like 500 square feet or something. It doesn't feel that way, and yet you're not compromising either. You don't have to live amidst clutter and things.
And you have all these little tiny details too. Like I love just this corner. Talk about minimal.
The idea was to just do the bare minimum, right? Just a little ledge where you could put a cup of water in your glasses. That is from a single piece of redwood. I just thought that the wood itself was so beautiful, and the grain and you can see the marking from the kerf of the blade that cut it. This was given to me from a mill. I just wanted to do this sort of simplest presentation.
Did you do this as well?
Yeah, that's a really, really early piece that I designed when I got started in building furniture about 15 years ago. Originally, I did it in ash as a birthday gift for my mom. And this one's cherry with black melamine.
Those legs are so fine at the bottom. Is that difficult? I mean, you kind of sculpting the wood at that point?
Yeah, I think I called it the spider table.
Yeah.
Remembering.
That makes sense. And did you put this on?
Yeah, I built this. So we need. Yeah, this is like a shoji screen. We needed to figure out how to provide some privacy, right? If you're sleeping here and you're changing your clothes right here, you need to have some privacy. But you know, how are you going to create a screen for an octagonal window? Mm-hmm. So this was our solution to that. So you can still let the light in, but people can't see you from the street. Being able to control my surroundings and create a sense of calm and peace allows me to really breathe and relax. It also allows for space creatively too. So I feel like I can really think clearly. If I'm in a space like this, I can do my best work. But I've had to learn how to function in this world without this because my life is totally chaotic because I have 2 kids who have very different ideas of how space should be inhabited. And it's unrealistic, I think, at a certain point in someone's life. But when I was a bachelor and it was just me living in an apartment, this is how I lived. I lived very similar to this. I just didn't have all the custom furniture, you know. But it's nice to like have this little space that I can sometimes come into and recoup.
So does this help, like really help provide income then? Being able to rent out
space?
Space?
Definitely, yeah. It helps us pay our mortgage. Yeah.
Does it really?
Yeah, for sure. It helps us live in San Francisco, but it also was an outlet for me to create something on my terms.
It's really nice.
Yeah, so the house is definitely a work in progress.
Yeah.
The kitchen, there's a lot of pieces that I built in here. Built the kitchen island and yeah. And all the shelving right here.
So you can just build yourself whatever you need. You built your whole kitchen.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it took a while. Every piece was added over several years. Yeah. And the kind of the whole house is a big project in that sense. This table has an interesting base to it. It has a mushroom quality to it. Yeah. You know, there's still so many things that I want to make, but I'm not in a hurry. I do it when I feel inspired to do it, or when I have the time to do it.
Or when his wife bugs him enough.
Yeah.
If you need something, you ever say, like, come on, we need a cabinet.
Totally, yeah. So this was a piece that I did.
It kind of goes on and on, right? Like,
these were given to me. These are old drawers from, I believe he was a metal worker. Yeah, I just loved how beaten up and there's a story there.
somebody just knew you could use them. They
these were sitting in my shop for a while, and I finally decided to create a piece to house them and make a desk and storage.
So what do you keep in all these? I mean, you have tiny things.
It's mainly like, stuff for the kids.
That's great.
Drawing supplies and...
It's like a game of memory.
Yeah, totally.
It's so unique, right? Like, this is what making furniture feels like to me, that if you can make your own, nobody's going to sell, I don't even know what you'd call it, because it's just...
No, for sure. It's like you can have an idea and realize it without having to get anybody's permission. And then this is all blackwood acacia that was given to me by an arborist friend of mine years ago that we milled on top of my shop, and it sat there since 2013, and I finally was like, I got to use this stuff.
So you mill your own wood?
Sometimes, that's a whole other thing, but it's incredibly laborious and loud, but I've done it, yeah.
Love it, and take advantage of trees that probably were just felled around here?
Yeah, this was San Francisco wood, yeah. I think it's nice to capture these live edge moments within a framework. It makes them feel more intentional.
Yeah. Isn't that funny that it's probably the most beautiful part of the wood?
Yeah, it's nice to highlight the fact that it's a tree. Then it's not a perfectly flat, homogeneous surface. It's got all kinds of variation in tone and texture. This was kind of left over from a large kitchen that I did. I made these panels and then gouged all of the panels. So that was many, many weeks of hand gouging all of the drawer fronts and doors.
There's just so much space in here. This reminds me of the little garage apartment.
Yeah, this is the one space where we can kind of do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like you've built a lot here.
Yeah, well, I built this for my wife. Storage is something we always need. And then I built the bed frame and the headboard.
It's much different from the other bed frame. I mean, it's much more designed.
Yeah.
I like it.
You use the same sort of leg though, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's a tapered leg, yeah.
So you see this table here?
Oh yeah, that belonged to my grandmother. I used to love it as a kid. Nobody else wanted it either when she passed away. I was like, yeah, I want that piece. This is a shaker piece that actually...
You did?
So I built this, but I was looking at a shaker book of furniture and just loved the simplicity of this. It's just the way that it folds, and I needed something like this in my room. The shakers were reacting against the very embellished architecture and aesthetic of Europe. Think Gothic and Rococo. So they created this whole approach to building that was the antithesis to that. There's a reactionary element to creativity in general, right? Yeah, it's just a simple closet.
You gotta create your own closet. Nothing built in. This is when you first started doing the leather poles?
Yeah, and it's fairly easy, right? You just cut a piece of leather, poke a couple holes in it, and screw it onto the door. So that is the chair that kind of jump-started my career doing custom furniture. This was a chair that I designed for a restaurant and built 50 of them. So at the time, I had never built a chair before. So I prototyped it and then made a production of 30 chairs, and then they asked for 20 more. So I did it originally out of old wine barrels because it was for a restaurant that specialized in cocktails. So when I milled the wood, you could smell that blend of the Cabernet and the white oak. So a lot of the stuff that I bring into the house are ideas or leftover parts from projects that I've worked on. So I built a bar for a restaurant many years ago, and the whole front of the bar and all the doors for the bar back shelving was this faceted Douglas fir. And this is all reclaimed wood from floorboards that were given to me from an old pipe organ factory in San Francisco.
It's non-generic in the sense that there are colors and textures that are not easy probably to replicate, so you don't see a lot of these in places where you can go and basically just buy your whole house in a morning.
Yeah, and they were added over several years. Like when I first made this cabinet, I didn't have that, and then I did that project, and then I incorporated that. As our family grew, we needed more storage. So this whole house is very organic in that sense, and it continues to be. And that's kind of how it is, just living in the house. If I have time or I'm inspired or energized to make something, I go for it. I had thousands of these 7/8 by 7/8 black locust staves that were made for this project. Benches for the Google campus, they were all steam bent. So all of this wood was soaked in water for a week and bent over an armature that was made of aluminum ribs that were water jet cut and welded with flanges. Yeah, so it took maybe about 3 to 4 months to build all 3 of those benches. Yeah, so I'm kind of chilling right now.
Yeah.
I'm taking a break. So now that I have all this extra material, I'm just kind of coming up with different designs. So I haven't eased the edges or anything on it. I mean, it's literally just prototype straight out of my shop, but I think it's pretty comfortable.
So how do you create a chair? Like, how much space do you need? Like, you have to fit a human body.
Yeah, I have always thought that chairs are the most complicated pieces of furniture to build because they're the most intimate. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of experimented with the proportions and the heights. And what's nice about this is I was able to adjust it in real time. I was able to sort of clamp the parts together and try it out in my shop until it felt just right. And then when I found that, I committed everything. So
it's really fit for your body.
It's fit for my body, yeah. My wife sits on it and she's like, what's going on here, and my kids are too small for it, but it fits me perfectly. And I built it in a morning.
Did you really?
Which is so satisfying to be able to start and finish a piece of furniture in a single day. It was really immediate and satisfying in that way. There's a lot of intention put in every object in this space. So a lot of these things took weeks or months to craft and build. And so even if you're not paying attention to every detail, you feel it when you're in an environment that's not generic. You can sense when you're in a place that's been put together thoughtfully. And I think that has an effect on the people who are in it. Unfortunately, the majority of spaces that we find ourselves in are generic. When you go to the airport and you go and walk into a hotel, there's a sort of predetermined element to every space that you walk in. So I find it very refreshing when I go into a space that is not that way at all, and that the person who lives in it is creating that space. In my own home and in this space is something that feels much quieter, more an expression of myself and the feeling that I want for the space.